So today we are on problem solving, lesson 12.9 in GoMath, and it's elapsed time. And our essential question is, how can you use a strategy, draw a diagram, to solve an elapsed time problem? So I think today, when looking at elapsed time, I think we're going to use something like a timeline to solve our problem. We're going to subtract to solve our problem, and we're also going to use the arrowway to solve our problems. So looking at the problem, Dora and her brother Kyle spent 1 hour and 35 minutes doing yard work. Then they stopped for lunch at 1:20 p.m. At what time did they start doing yard work? Use a graphic organizer to help you solve the problem. So we are going to use a timeline as our graphic organizer. When I look at this problem right here, I'm like, okay, what do I know? Well, I know what time they stopped. So they had an end time, which was 1:20. I also know how long did they do yard work for? Well, I know they did yard work for 1 hour and 35 minutes. What don't I know? What do I need to solve for? I need to solve for what time did they start doing the yard work. So it says, what do I need to find? I need to find the time that Dora and Kyle started doing yard work. Started doing yard work. That's the unknown. It's what I don't know about this problem. What information do I need to use? Well, I need to use the elapsed time. So that 1 hour and 35 minutes. And I need to know the time that they, stopped for lunch. Stopped for lunch. Move you over just a second. So if I know how long they used for time to do yard work, that's the elapsed time, that 1 hour and 35 minutes, and what time they stopped for lunch, those two things are going to help me solve my problem. How will I use the information? Well, I can draw a timeline to help me count backward and find the start time, which is what we're trying to do. Okay, so solve the problem. I draw a timeline that shows the end time as 1:20 because that's information that I know I have. Next, I count backward 1 hour. So 1:20 take away 1 hour would take you all the way to 12:20. Then I count in 5-minute increments until I count to 35. So I say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And that gets me to 11:45 a.m. So now I know that is my start time, or the start time of Dora and Kyle. So Dora and her brother Kyle started doing yard work at 11:45 a.m. What if Dora and Kyle spent 50 minutes doing yard work and they stopped for lunch at 12:30 p.m.? What time would they have started doing yard work? There's two thoughts about this. I could say, 50 minutes is almost an hour because 60 minutes is an hour. So I could go 12:30, take away an hour, which is really 60 minutes, would be 11:30. Then I would add 10 minutes, which would make it 11:40. So I could solve it that way. Another way I could solve it is, 12:30, take away 30 would be 12 o'clock. Now I can count by fives going back. So 11:55, 11:50, 11:45, 11:40. That would be 50 minutes. And it would still give me the same answer. Try another problem. Ben started riding his bike at 10:05 a.m. He stopped 23 minutes later when his friend Robbie asked him to play kickball. At what time did Ben stop riding his bike? Well, what do I need to find out first? I need to find the time Ben stopped riding his bike. Because now we have a start time. It said he started at 10:05 a.m. We know the elapsed time is 23 minutes. So he stopped 23 minutes later. So what we don't have is the end time. So I need to find out that end time here. What information do I need to use? So I need to use the elapsed time, which we know is 23 minutes, and the time he started. Ben started riding his bike. How will I use this information? Well, how can I solve it? Well, on the previous page, we solved it using a timeline. So I think I'm going to use that again. So I can, and I'm going to move this over again. Sorry about that, kids. I can draw a timeline to help me count forward. We're counting forward this time because we have a start time, we just don't have an end time. And find the end time. Period. So now I have a timeline right here. What I do have this time is the start time, which I know is at 10:05. So I'm going to kind of just make a dot right here to remind me, and I'm going to label it. I have a start time. So that's something I know. I also know he rode his bike for 23 minutes. So I think the easiest thing for me to do is to count by fives. So I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20. I can't count by fives anymore because it was 23 minutes. So now I'm going to count by ones. So 21, 22, 23. So 21, 22, 23. So I'm labeling all my work. So I look here, it says 10:25. So 25, 26, 27, 28. Oh, awesome. 10:28 a.m. And I know, and I'm going to label it, this is my end time. The last question asked, how did your diagram help you solve the problem? Well, a timeline helped me count the minutes from the start time to the end time, and I counted using fives and ones. So this problem you're going to do on your own, but I'm going to help you out just a little bit to start it out. Evelyn has dance class every Saturday. It lasts 1 hour and 15 minutes and is over at 12:45 p.m. At what time does Evelyn's dance class begin? So I'm like, ooh, what information do I have? Well, this time I only have, I don't have a lot of space to write, you guys. I'm so sorry. I only have an end time, which is at 12:45 p.m. But I also have the elapsed time, 1 hour and 15 minutes. So first, write the problem you need to solve. So the problem I need to solve is what time does Evelyn's dance class begin? What time does Evelyn's, and I'll put an apostrophe because the dance class belongs to her, dance class begin, and a question mark at the end because it is a question. So I need to know the start time. What time does her dance class start? Next, draw a timeline to show the end time and the elapsed time. Well, you know what? Again, I know that she starts at 12:45. But my timeline only shows 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. Where's 11:45 or 12:45? So I see the 12. I'm going to count by fives. 12:05, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Oh, I bet I found my start time. So I'm going to go ahead and label that on there. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 12:45 p.m. Because I have an end time, I'm going to be working backward this time instead of going forward. So your humps or your jumps will be going in this direction. And I'm going to let you go ahead and solve it now. So once you click into your GoMath on the computer, you'll be completing this page, questions 1 through 4. It's page 507 in the booklet. And problems 5 through 9 on page 508. You'll want to have some scratch paper out so you can make timelines so you can solve these problems. Have fun!